Pharaoh Akhenaten, also known as Amenhotep IV, is a fascinating figure in ancient Egyptian history who brought about a significant religious and cultural revolution during his reign in the 14th century BCE. Akhenaten is primarily known for his radical departure from traditional Egyptian religious beliefs and practices, as he introduced a monotheistic religion centered around the worship of the sun disk, Aten. Akhenaten's monotheistic revolution was a drastic departure from the polytheistic traditions of ancient Egypt, where numerous gods and goddesses were revered. He declared Aten, the sun disk, as the sole god and the supreme deity to be worshipped. This marked a fundamental shift in Egyptian religious ideology and challenged the established religious and social order. Under Akhenaten's rule, the traditional religious cults and temples dedicated to other deities were suppressed, and their priests lost their influence and wealth. The pharaoh ordered the construction of new temples and religious centers solely dedicated to the worship of Aten, with the most famous being the city of Akhetaten, modern-day Amarna, which became the capital during his reign. The temples featured open-air sanctuaries where the sun's rays could directly reach the worshippers, emphasizing the importance of the sun as the source of life and divine power. The artistic style during Akhenaten's reign also underwent a dramatic transformation. This period, known as the Amarna Period, witnessed a departure from the conventional artistic canon and a shift towards a more naturalistic and intimate portrayal of the royal family. Akhenaten, his wife Nefertiti, and their children were depicted with elongated and exaggerated features, reflecting a new artistic aesthetic. Despite his efforts to establish Atenism as the state religion, Akhenaten's monotheistic revolution faced significant opposition. Many Egyptians found it difficult to abandon their traditional gods and struggled to adapt to the radical changes imposed by the pharaoh. After Akhenaten's death, his religious reforms were quickly reversed, and the traditional polytheistic religion was reinstated under the rule of his successors. Nevertheless, Akhenaten's reign and his monotheistic revolution left an indelible mark on Egyptian history. His attempt to establish a monotheistic belief system foreshadowed similar developments in later monotheistic religions, particularly Judaism and Christianity. The Amarna period remains a significant era for scholars studying ancient Egyptian history, offering insights into the complexities of religious, cultural, and political changes that shaped one of the world's most enduring civilizations. Akhenaten's monotheistic revolution had far-reaching implications beyond religious and cultural aspects. It also had political consequences that influenced the power dynamics of ancient Egypt. By centralizing the worship of Aten and diminishing the authority of traditional priesthoods, Akhenaten concentrated religious and political power in his own hands. The pharaoh presented himself as the intermediary between the people and the one true god, Aten. This allowed him to establish a direct relationship with the divine and claim a divine right to rule. Akhenaten's religious reforms thus reinforced his authority as an absolute monarch, elevating his status above other powerful institutions such as the priesthood and nobility. Furthermore, the shift in religious focus towards the sun disk brought about changes in the religious symbolism and rituals of the time. The traditional Egyptian pantheon consisted of gods and goddesses associated with various aspects of life and nature. Each deity had its own significance and rituals dedicated to their worship. With the advent of Atenism, these gods and their rituals lost prominence, and the worship of Aten became the central religious practice. Akhenaten's monotheistic revolution also had implications for the position of women in ancient Egyptian society. His wife, Queen Nefertiti, played a prominent role in the religious reforms and was depicted alongside him in many reliefs and artworks. The Amarna period witnessed a higher degree of visibility and influence for royal women compared to previous eras. Nefertiti's prominent position challenged traditional gender roles and demonstrated a level of empowerment rarely seen in ancient Egypt. However, despite these innovations, Akhenaten's radical religious reforms faced significant opposition and were short-lived. After his death, his successors, particularly Tutankhamun, sought to restore the traditional polytheistic religion and erase the memory of Atenism. Akhenaten, the capital built by Akhenaten, was abandoned, and the religious centers dedicated to Aten were dismantled.